What is going on YouTube? Hayden back making another brand new Crypto TV episode. In today's video, we're going to be looking at Litecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, as well as XRP to US dollar. We're also going to be looking at DueDEX as well as the current coin market cap. In today's video specifically, I want to talk about volatility. As you guys know, the market has been very crazy the past couple of days. You guys can clearly see in yesterday's market analysis, and as well as the past couple of days, we've had a ton of uncertainty within the markets right now, and that's why this is fairly concerning. So I wanted to kind of give you guys my technical analysis in regards to the possibilities of a correction to the upside, because I know that's where a lot of you guys are thinking right now. It seems like the market is starting to recover in relevance to maybe the stock market seeing its recovery as well. And then I also want to discuss the fact that we may have bottomed out potentially, and we could start to see a move back to the upside, because as you guys know, the markets are fairly undervalued and look to want to be moving back up higher. Otherwise, if you guys are new to the channel, definitely make sure to subscribe. We actually broke 14.3k subscribers. That's absolutely amazing. Make sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications, leave a giant thumbs up, and remember to follow me on Twitter at CryptoVOfficial for all my latest updates, tweets on the market, or if you guys just wanted to hang out with me and spark a conversation, I do enjoy those as well. Otherwise, let's jump into today's episode. So yesterday we made a very interesting video. Basically, we were talking about what we know within this market right now, and I kind of want to continue off of this episode and this video in relevance to the fact that it looks like we may have bottomed out. Specifically in today's video, I want to talk about a couple very interesting things, because as you guys know, with Ethereum and some of the other cryptos, everything is fairly oversold and everything looks to be hitting bottoming out on support. So, you know, just technical analysis would allow us to assume that we're probably going to be breaking up, but I want to focus and specialize on each cryptocurrency to help you understand what exactly we could be doing now that we've, understood what exactly is happening within the market. Specifically, the current coin market cap out of the top 10 cryptos, you can see that we're pretty much just consolidating. Everything has pretty much led us to this moment. We had a lot of sideways consolidation. We had our massive drop in price, and now you're seeing more sideways consolidation, very little movement, just sideways trading, and that is fairly concerning once again, because as you guys know, when we see sideways movement, it always tends to end in some very big correction to either side. You can see clearly here, this sideways movement with little volume and little price action does eventually break with some sort of extreme volume. As we said the past couple of days ago, you could see, where is it? I think it's right here where we referenced a big correction and a ton of volume coming in. So usually volume tends to trade sideways, and then, or when there's little volume, we tend to trade sideways and then eventually see some sort of major break. That's what we saw the past couple of days. So what I want to figure out right now is, we've discussed the current coin market cap. I want to focus and hone in on these cryptocurrencies. Specifically, I want to look at Ethereum, and then we'll kind of move our judgment to the other cryptos. As you guys know, I've been fairly active on my Patreon, helping you guys understand where exactly this market is moving to, as well as figuring out what our next plans of actions are. Yesterday, I made a video basically saying that the market is very unstable right now. And as you guys know, I'm here to tell you guys my experiences with the market, and I'm here to let you guys know my opinions as to whether or not it's a safe bet to invest or to trade around with the market. And for those of you that have been watching the channel for a long time, understand that I am a conservative trader. And what that means is I don't like to invest when there is high risk, because there's obviously greater chances of making profit, but also greater chances of losing money. So I like to wait for when I'm fairly certain that we are going to move in a certain direction, using technical analysis, using my own, objective theory, and then eventually figuring out what the best positions are to invest in, expecting a bull run or a bear run. We can either short or go long, and that's kind of what I wanted to discuss. So you can see Ethereum helps us figure this out. So the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that the markets are oversold. We are extremely oversold. You can see that clearly right here on this relative strength indicator, and it's actually like this for every single crypto. We're oversold on Bitcoin, we're oversold on Litecoin, we're also oversold on XRP. So it looks like we've hit the bottom for a lot of cryptos. So I want to focus on Ethereum and tie this in with Bitcoin and Litecoin because I believe these are trading fairly synchronized compared to XRP, which is currently acting independent. So what I can understand right now on Ethereum is, yes, we've bottomed off. These two candles were the biggest volume that we've had, which is even crazier to assume that this little uncertainty that we saw right here was actually just as much volume as the previous candle. That was just an interesting point of view. Really what I wanted to focus on was the fact that we saw the drop. We discussed the past couple of days that if Ethereum was able to get enough resistance or enough support and broke through its $188 support, there was a good chance we would dump, and vice versa. If we broke through the the $205 resistance, there was a good chance we'd break bullish. So given that we broke bearish, we kind of anticipated we would fall down to our previous support. Now notice how there's really not much support here in between the high-low middle moving average and this bottom support at 125. So we kind of figured that if we were to drop, we would close the gap and fill this gap in, falling down to 125. When we saw the two candles break below here, I was kind of, confused that we broke below our recent support, but obviously a lot of FUD is happening within the market, and we immediately corrected back up to support. And it's nice to see that we're now currently hanging out at this level, because that gives me a different opinion on the market. It makes me think that maybe we did actually bottom off. Now, what's crazy to assume is the stock market also had a massive crash like this too, one we haven't seen in a long time. Really hard to know what exactly happened, whether people who are on the stock market knew they could do the same thing within crypto and tried it. I don't know. But we also have to assume that usually, as we know within stocks and within cryptocurrency, when we usually hit a bottom, we tend to eventually correct back up. So we could assume that these prices are on sale. We dropped fairly low very quickly. So I want to set up a couple of positions in relevance to moving forward. Now, obviously, it's so hard to figure out exactly what the best buying opportunity is due to the fact that these markets are so uncertain and volatile right now, especially after a 50% drop. So we have two options available, and these are going to be short squeeze options. Obviously, the first one is going to be if we can break above resistance, I would say at around 150. So if we can break above 150, there's a very high chance we're going to move back up within Ethereum to its high-low MMA. So for example, I'll draw it out really quickly. If the price can break above this resistance, expect to see movement up to 195. So this would be a good trade. So buying in long at 150 with anticipation of moving up to 193 would help us do that. On the same side, now that we've been hanging out on the on this resistance right here that's currently acting as a support, if we break below this support, there's a very good chance we're going to head lower. It's going to be hard to do due to the fact that we're oversold on the daily. We'll even check out the weekly. The weekly is not oversold, but you can see we are fairly below what appears to be its high-low MMA, but you can see it looks like it's bottomed out. So I would be extremely shocked and overwhelmed if we broke below the current supports that we're hanging out at. You can clearly see that there are other supports a little bit lower. We have this one right here. I'm looking at this area. There's a good chance we could fall down to here where that wick ends up hitting. But those are the positions in reference to Ethereum. So when we switch over to Bitcoin, and we'll look at Ethereum, XRP in a second, we're seeing the same types of trends and the same trades. Now, it's hard to really draw a good support here. There's a very small one, nothing like the past one, but you can see this still is some sort of support. We do have a channel right here where we have trended inside of it in the past, and you can see we have come into contact with it once again. So we are fairly sure that we are in some sort of support right now. If not breaking through it, we are trending in some sort of support. So that same thing would apply. We would put a bottom support right here and then consider a couple of options. So if Bitcoin breaks above, I would play it conservatively and say 6,100. If we can break above 6,100, there's a good chance once again we're going to fill the gap. If the price breaks above this resistance, expect to see movement all the way back up to its high-low MMA, 8,500. If we break below the support at 5,000, we're going to fall lower. It'd be very sad to see us fall lower. Obviously, we just had our bearish cross on the MACD, on the moving averages, so it does show that we are already in this bear market, but the fact is that we are undervalued. The fact that these currencies are all trending below their high-low MMA, when in doubt and with enough time, we are indefinitely going to be moving back up to the $8,400 resistance right now, or even in a couple of weeks, if we consolidate lower, there is going to be a very high chance we eventually start to move back up to its resistance. We always move up to the high-low MMA, so it's just figuring out when exactly that is and then cashing out on the opportunity that we had up higher. You can see we very similarly we could reference past actions. So you can see we had a massive drop here too. We'll just figure out how big this drop was. We saw prices, I mean, we could even go higher up down to here, and we can see that there was a 37% drop within the price. A lot of people might have assumed that, hey, we broke outside of the middle moving average. Are we ever going to head back up to it? And we did. We moved back up to it. Now notice the high-low MMA was $9,300 up here, currently $8,400 or $8,100 here. So you can see we do eventually drop within the high-low MMA, but we eventually come back up to it. It's just figuring out exactly when that is to make a trade to buy in for the leap upwards. So obviously you can see there's a lot of consolidation. There's a huge possibility we could see that same consolidation happening in here as well. But given the opportunity, I'll be updating my Patreon on my specific trades that I plan on doing very soon, as well as telling you guys my short positions. Obviously, if you guys want to take advantage of shorting Bitcoin, I think you should. And because we have these massive drops and we're fighting a bear market, I would highly recommend signing up for DueDEX as well in reference to shorting these cryptos. This is also linked in the description with my Patreon. So you guys will have that opportunity to sell, buy long and sell short. And then I will wrap things up with Litecoin, and then I do have a couple, other announcements moving forward at the end of the video. So if you want to know more about shorting, as well as just an update on the channel, I'll let you know that in a second. So just to wrap up Litecoin really quickly, Litecoin is in the same boat as Bitcoin and Ethereum are. That's why I'm, including these all together. Ultimately, if we break above resistance, I would say at $38, good chance we're going to shoot up to the high-low MMA at $60, or that's where the target price is. We are oversold, so I anticipate that we're going to move back up, but obviously with this uncertain market, I can't really answer that just yet. We have to let it consolidate and play out before we make any general assumption. And then lastly, in reference to basically updates with the channel as well as shorting, what shorting means is you're basically, unlike buying long, is when you just buy in and hold crypto at a certain price and then sell off when you're done with it and keep the difference. Buying long or selling short means you're basically borrowing shares from the website. So what that means specifically is if you buy Bitcoin at $10,000, you're borrowing one Bitcoin at $10,000 from, let's say, DueDEX, for example, and the second you get it, you sell it and you get the $10,000. What you're ultimately doing is risking that there's a good chance that the market will drop and you'll buy the coin back at a lower price and then return that Bitcoin that you borrowed. So if Bitcoin drops from the 10K you sold it at down to 6K, and then you buy it back in at $6,000 and you give them their Bitcoin that you borrowed back to them, you're ultimately keeping the difference between the $10,000 and the $6,000 being $4,000. Now, in regards to updates for the channel, so today is my last day of work until the following weekend. I'm working weekends right now, so I should be able to obviously make a better video come the next couple of days, just my lighting and things like that. Maybe throw up a green screen, which would be awesome. I'll have a lot more time to focus on that. I just wanted to update you guys with that. I will be going back to college in less than a week, and when I go back up there, everything will be back to normal. But there is some crazy stuff. Hopefully you guys heard about SUNY CUNY's closing traditional college and moving everything to online, which is just absolutely mind-blowing. So there's a lot that everybody's dealing with, a lot I'm dealing with, trying to figure out. This semester should be my last semester, and I plan on graduating, so there's a ton of crazy stuff happening. So I just hope that you guys understand and fall through. If you have any questions or concerns, you could definitely reach out to me on Twitter, and definitely make sure to check out Patreon as well as DueDEX if you do want to help support the channel. Otherwise, guys, that's going to wrap up today's episode. Like I said, if you're new to the video, definitely make sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications, follow me on Twitter at CryptoVOfficial, and I'll see you in tomorrow's episode. Peace.